We have cat base. A Baharis, the size of a grist, contains living skin, the size of a lentil. If it covers him completely and then the living skin disappears, or if the living skin disappears and then the Negeg covers him completely, the afflicted person is tahor. If living skin appeared in a completely expanded Nega, he is Tame. If white skin appeared on it, and yet Rav Yeshua rendered it Tame, then the sages rendered it tahor. A Baharis with white hair that subsequently covered him completely with his tahor, even though the white hairs remain. The Baharis that has expanded and subsequently covered him completely is tahor. All of these cases become tamei if the extremities return. If it is spread partially, he is tamei, and if it covered it completely, he is tahor. Whenever extremities spread completely and the spreading rendered a tamei tahor, when they return, they render him tamei. Whenever extremities return and the returning rendered a tahor tamei, they became covered with nega. He is tahor. If they became uncovered, he is tamei even if 100 times.
Okay. Fine. Call hara'oi litame benega habaheris. Okay. So, right, as we've learned, not every part of the person's body is eligible for a baheris. So we said any part of the head that's got hair on it or the beard, that baheris doesn't count over there. There you've got different things. There you've got a netek. Okay, a netek is not the same as a baheris. Okay. Also on a scab, or sorry, on a burn or on a on a boil, those are not eligible for baheris. Okay, they have different rules of what happens over there. So when we're talking about kol hara'oi litame benega habaheris, ma'akev es hapricha. So any part of the skin that is eligible for baheris and did not turn white prevents the person from becoming tahor, from becoming completely white. Okay. And if it's a piece of skin that is not eligible for baheris, then it's just not. It does not get. It does not prevent the spreading. So for example, if the person's skin turns entirely white, but you see that, if you look through his hair at his scalp, you can see his scalp hasn't gone white. Or if you look through his beard, or if you look at the burn that he's got over there, that doesn't have any baheris on it. But that doesn't count because you don't have baheris there anyway. So he's completely white. Okay. Ketzad parcha bekulo. It spread over his entire body. Aval lo berosh of zakan, b'shchin b'michva v'kedach hamoridin. So this is what I just described to you. If it didn't spread into his head or his beard, or into the boil, or into a burn, or into a weeping wound. So first of all, he immediately becomes tahor because he was covered completely, and then his head or his beard became bald, or the hair fell out. So now he would be so that part of the skin would now be eligible for baheris, but because he's already been pronounced tahor. Okay, we'll see in a second. So the burn or the boil or the weeping wound all healed and became a scar, which now is eligible again for baheris. Tahorim. Once he's been proclaimed tahor, and now and an extra piece of skin now becomes exposed, that doesn't remove from the tahara. Only when the nega recedes from the area that was originally eligible. Parcha bekulo. So the hair spread over his entire body. Aval lo bekachatzi adasha hasamach lerosh v'lezakan. But not over just a half an adasha that is adjacent to his head or his beard or the shchina michva lekedach or to the weeping wound, right? Chazar harosh v'lezakan v'nikarchu. And now so before this happened, the Chatzi Adasha, I think, was not enough to puzzle him. Am I right? Let's just check. Chatzi Adasha. Oh no, he's still Tameh. He is still Tameh, even with that Chatzi Adasha over there. And why we even say a Chatzi Adasha is because normally an Adasha is the amount that you need for a michya, right? A piece of healthy skin. So even a Chatzi Adasha over here is enough to stop him from becoming completely white. Okay, so you had a chatzi adasha on the border of these things. Now, that last little bit that was outstanding before became a Baheris, but it didn't go on to the area of the hair of the head that became bald. That's still Tameh. Ad shetifrach bekulo, because it's got to be judged at the moment when the Kohen sees it, and he saw it the first time. There was still a chatzi adasha left over, and it's still Tameh. So now the hair fell out, and the thing, huh?
The Kohen has to see it first before anything else happens,
Got to?
right? The Kohen has to see it.
Yes, the Kohen has to see it in order to declare it tahor or tameh. Okay, so every time that the Kohen sees it, he judges it kamos shehu. Okay. Shtei beharos. Okay, now you have two beharises on a person. Achas tameh v'achas tahora. Okay, how do you have one tahor, one tameh? Because one of them was quarantined for 2 weeks and failed to grow or develop any other siman tumah. Okay, so the Kohen looks at it and says this is tahor, but then he gets another nega which did grow, okay, or did have a white hair in it. So one of them is tameh, one of them is tahor. Now we said before about a nega tahor. Okay, if it's tahor and then it spreads and fills his entire body, he said that doesn't count, because if it comes from tahara, then it's going to be tameh, because the original one is the original nega is still tahor. It doesn't count towards the total of everything being white. But here's an interesting situation. You had two negaim. One was tameh and one was tahor. Parcha mizo lezo, it spread from one to the other. V'achar kach parcha bekulo, and then it spread, so it then covered his entire body. That is tahor, because what do we say is that the tameh nega spread and enveloped the tahor nega, and therefore nullified it.
It's like one thing.
So
It's like one thing.
it nullified it and became one thing, and then it spread to his entire body. This is now actually considered tahor. And that we say, actually, what the Hati mentions in the commentary, that even if he saw that it actually spread from the tahor one first, before they merged, it's nonetheless going to be tameh, because we say it's because of the influence of the tameh one that it spread. So he's got two negaim, one on his upper lip and one on his closed lip, and we look at him when his mouth is closed. Okay, he's got on two adjacent fingers, or its eyelids, on the top eyelid and the bottom eyelid. Even though when he holds them together, and they appear to be like one. And if they're not, hang on, this is, I hope you just want to see, is this talking about size? Wait, one. Okay, right. One was tameh and one was tahor. On the top or the bottom. Okay, so even though they appear to be one when he pushes them together, and it's spread over his entire body, it's still considered tahor. We don't say that the tahor nega is the main, has taken over. Why would we have thought that? So some say that there are some Mefarshim, so that's what I was thinking of. But there are some Mefarshim who say that with the upper lip and the lower lip, so that it's that each one is a chatzi gris. And even though you put them together, they look like a full gris. That's not counted as a full gris. That's two chatzi grisim and two separate negaim, even though in the resting position they look like they're together. Okay, so that's
why he's tahor then.
That's why he's tahor. Therefore, he will be tahor. Correct. Parcha bekulo avalo babohak. Okay, if it's spread over his entire body but not on a bohak. So a bohak is something that looks like a nega, but it's too dim to be one of the 4 shades of white that we declare to be a baheris. Okay, so that's a bohak is tahor. And the bohak also does not count against him when it comes to parcha bekulo. Okay, good. So he sorry. Parcha b'kula aber lo b'bohak. I beg your pardon. That says tamei. The bohak does prevent the pricha because it's got to cover all of his skin, all of his eligible skin. So even though a bohak looks like part of a nega, it does prevent him from becoming kula lavan. Chazru bo roshe evarim kamin bohak. Now, what happens if he is kula lavan, and then part of his body, let's say his fingertips, it doesn't recede to healthy skin; it recedes to a bohak. Okay, so it's now become dim. Okay, he's still tahor. That's not yet called healthy skin. So the bohak doesn't prevents it works in two directions. It's kind of almost neutral territory. It doesn't, and I think I refer to the bohak as Switzerland, right? That's it's neutral. If it's spreading all over, you can't count it. You can't count it as an ally to make him tahor. And when it recedes and becomes a bohak, it doesn't count as anything to make him tamei either. Just stays out of the picture. It's not you can't factor it in. Okay. So he remains tahor. Chazru bo roshe evarim pachos mikadasha. What happens if when he's kula lavan, a piece of healthy skin appears that's less than an adasha? Rabbi Meir Matame v'Chachamim omrim bohak or pachos mikadasha. Siman tuma b'tchila v'ein siman tuma b'sof. So in both cases, a bohak or a piece of healthy skin that's less than an adasha, it prevents spreading initially, but it does not, but doesn't make him tamei after he's already tahor. So basically, it leaves everything at status quo. If he was tamei before, he does not become tahor, and if he was tahor before, he doesn't become tamei from them. Okay. Zayin haba kulo levan. So the first time the guy turns up at the kohen, he is completely white. Okay, now that's different from what we've had before. Beforehand, the kohen looked at him and he had a nega, however big the nega was, and the kohen said, okay, either he's going to be machlit now because it's got a siman tuma, or he's going to put him into hesker. And then the next time the kohen sees him, now he's gone completely white. That's when he becomes tahor. But when the first time the kohen sees him, he is already completely white. The kohen says, okay, quarantine for you. Now, what's the quarantine for? Obviously, it can't spread anymore. So he's waiting for a white hair or a mechia to appear. Nolad lo se'er lavan, if he gets a white hair, yachlit, then now he becomes tamei completely. Hishchiru shtehen. Now, what happens if the white hairs that were that the kohen declared him tamei for become black, or achas mehen, or one of them, or hiktzir shtehen, or they became shorter, or achas mehen nismach hashchin shtehen, or it became or a boil or a burn spread to where that hair was, or achas mehen, or to just one of them, hikif hashchines shtehen, or it is or surrounded, or achas mehen. These are all areas that make the white hair not count, or chilkan, or something, or a burn split between the two hairs. Hashchin or michias hashchin, whether it's a boil or a healed boil, michva, a burn, or a healed burn, bohak. All of these cases remove the siman tuma. Nolad lo michya. What happens if he gets a healthy skin in the middle, or say alavan tamei? So he arrived completely white. If he now got some healthy skin, he is declared tamei. Lo nolad lo michya velo say alavan. If he did not get either michya or say alavan, he's tahor. Right? He'll stay like that for 2 weeks in quarantine, and no simanei tuma appear. Then the kohen will say, "Okay, you're tahor now," and that whole nega is now tahor. But as soon as it starts to shrink, that's already called. So now we look at this as at the shrinking, not as the nega getting smaller, but as a michya. Sorry, beg your pardon. then then they stay as they were, because in this case, because it's now just a nega that has shrunk. So he stays tahor. Because and this contrasts with the case of the one who was called Hafach Kula Lavan, who started out with a small nega and then became fully white. Then he becomes tahor, but when it starts shrinking, then he becomes tameh again. But this guy who appeared white for the first time and spent 2 weeks in quarantine, and the Kohen eventually told him, okay, you're tahor. Now, when that one starts shrinking, he stays tahor, because all that's happened is he started off with one massive nega, and it's just starting to shrink. So then the Kohen says, okay, this is it's shrinking, and it's not. This is healthy. Parcha b'miktaso, if it's spread over part of him, he becomes tameh. Parcha b'kulo harei hu tahor. But if it's spread now back over him, now he's back into the case of a porech mina tameh. So if it started to shrink, that's great. But then if it started to grow again, then the Kohen is going to declare him tameh, because on the strength of it being a nega. And then if it's spread again to cover him completely, now he's a hafach kulo lavan, because he started out having a small nega, which then grew into hafach kulo lavan. Okay. Daled Yud.
Baharis, the son of a gris, expanded on an additional gris, living skin or white hair that appeared inside the expansion, and the original nega disappeared. Rabbi Akiva renders it tameh, and the Talmud say it must be examined anew. A Baharis, half the size of a gris, has no other symptoms inside it. Another Baharis, half the size of a gris, appears, which has one white hair. This nega is confined. The Baharis, half the size of a gris, has one white hair. Another Baharis, half the size of a gris, appeared, also having one white hair. This nega is confined. The Baharis, half the size of a gris, a gris has two white hairs. Another Baharis, half the size of a gris, appears containing one white hair. This nega is confined. A Baharis, half the size of a gris, has no other symptoms inside it. Another Baharis, the size of a gris, appears to have two hairs. This nega is confirmed because, as Common stated, if the Baharis preceded the white hair, the afflicted person is tameh, but if the white hair preceded the Baharis, it is tahor. If he is uncertain, the afflicted person is tameh, but Reb Shua disapproves of this ruling.
Okay.
Right.
Oh yeah, one more. Yeah, one more.
Any doubt concerning the Negaim is ruled tahor, except for the last one case. And the next one. What is the next case? Someone had a Baharis the size of a gris that the Kohen confined. To the end of the week, the confinement, it was the size of a cellar. But if it is uncertain whether this is the original nega that spread or a different nega that replaced it, Kohen used it confirmed tameh. Okay.
Okay. Yud Vav.
There is a skylight in the roof of a house, and a pot is placed beneath the skylight so that if the pot were raised, its edges would not touch the roof surrounding the skylight. And there is tumor below, inside, or above the pot. The tumor penetrates upward and downward. If the pot is one handbreadth above the ground and there's tumor below it or inside the house, the area below the pot and the inside of the house becomes tameh. But whatever is inside or above the pot remains tahor. If the tumor is inside or above the pot, everything becomes tameh. If a pot was placed on a threshold in such a way that if it raised, it would extend over the outer handbreadth of the lintel, then there's tumor inside it. If above the pot, the tumor penetrates upward and downward. If the pot is one handbreadth above the ground and there's tumor below or inside the house, the area below the pot and inside the house becomes tameh, but whatever is inside or above the pot remains tahor. If the tumor is made inside or above the pot, everything becomes tameh. And if the pot was placed on the threshold so that it was placed, it would not touch an outer handbreadth of the lintel, or it is touching the sides of the lintel, and there is tumor underneath it. Only what is below the pot becomes tameh. Okay. If the roof of a house is split and tumor is inside the outer part, utensils that are in the outer part remain tahor. If the tumor is in the inner part, Beis Shammai said the split must be 4 handbreadths wide, and the outer part is remain tahor, whereas Beis Hillel says it remains tahor even if the split is very small. And if Yossi says in the name of Beis Hillel, a handbreadth.
Okay. Kalim. Esayan.
Regarding a sheretz that is found in the eye of an oven or in the eye of a stove or in the eye of a kupak, from the end edge and outward, they often the star. And if it was in the air, even if an olive's volume of corpse was in the air, the oven is tahor. If there is an opening of a tefach in the eye, everything is tummy. If a sheretz was found in the place for laying the wood, Yehuda says from the outer edge and inward, the stove is tummy, but for the sages say from the inner edge and outward, the stove is tahor. Rabbi Yossi says from the pinpoint, from the point opposite where the pot is set and inward, the stove is tummy, and from the point opposite where the pot is set and is outward, the stove is tahor. If a sheretz was found in the place where the bathhouse attendant sits, or in the place where the dryer sits, or in the place where those who cook olives sit, the stove is tahor. If it is tummy only if the sheretz is found from the place where the pot covers up the opening and inward. Okay. If a pot that has a place in it for a pot to be set is tummy, and a pit of glass makers, if it has a place for a pit to be set, is tummy. The furnace of lime manufacturers, or the furnace of glass manufacturers, or the furnace of potters is tahor. The puna, if it has a rim, is tummy. Rabbi Yehuda says if it has istigos, is tummy. The Gamil says if it's thin lip, is tummy. Okay. Avos. Okay. Avos. Dalajud base. Be'elabah says, Shama says, let the honor of your student be as dear to you as your own. The honor of your colleague as the reverence for your teacher, and the reverence for your teacher as the reverence for heaven. Rabbi Yehuda says, be meticulous in study, for a carelessness purpose is considered tantamount to willful transgression. Rabbi Shimon says there are three crowns: the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of kingship. And the crown of good name surpasses them all. The Rabbi Neori says, exile yourself to a place of Torah, but do not assume that it will come after you, or that your colleagues will force you to remain with you, and do not rely on your own understanding. Okay. And we have Yevamos. Here we go. Yudal Bet. Rabbi Yochanan Guduga testified that a deaf mute who was given in marriage by his father may be released by a bill of divorce. They said to him, this one is also the same. If the two deaf mute brothers were married to two mute sisters, or two competent sisters, the two sisters and one was deaf mute and one competent, or if two deaf mute sisters were married to two competent others, or to two deaf mute brothers, or to two brothers, one a deaf mute, one a competent, these widows are exempt from Kalisa and from Yibum. If they were not related, they should marry, and if they then wish to divorce, they may. If two brothers, one a deaf mute and one a competent, were married to two competent sisters, and the deaf mute husband of the competent sister died, what should be competent sister of the other? What should be the competent husband of the other competent sister do? Nothing, because he was released as his sister's wife. If the competent husband of a competent sister died, what should the deaf mute husband of the other competent sister do? He should discharge his wife with a bill of divorce, and his brother's wife is perpetually forbidden.
Okay.
If two,
we're done.
All right.
And
Yeah, plenty of time.
end of
I'm
Shvius.
sorry.
End of Shvius.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Joel.
Shvius, last Mishnah in Shvius.
Oh, okay. Whoever places debt in the 7th year, the sages are well pleased with him. Whoever borrows from a proselyte, the sons converted with him, did not pay the debt to his sons, but if he pays it, the sons are well pleased with him. All movable property is acquired by drawing it, and whoever keeps his word, the sages are pleased with him. Okay.
Okay, Trumos.
I was trying to pick it up and let's put it on the shelf. There we go. Gosh. Should be right here. I can find it. I forgot.
Okay, Chamisha lo yisromos. There are five people who cannot take truma. V'im tarmu ein truma san truma, and even b'diavad it doesn't work. Cherish, shote, v'katan. Your regular deaf mute, your imbecile and minor. Hatorim es she'ena shelo, and one who takes truma of something that is not his. He's unauthorized. Nochri shetaram is shal Yisrael afilu b'rishus, and a non-Jew who took truma from a Jew, even with permission, ein truma sab truma. Okay. So the cheresh who can speak but does not hear, he should not lechatchila take truma. Ve'im taram truma sa truma, but b'diavad it does work. In general, when we're talking about a cherish, that the chachamim are talking about she'enu lo shomeh v'lo medaber. That's talking about deaf mute, not just somebody who's deaf. And that's it for today, and I'm going to wrap. Bye. Have a lovely day.